panel discusses the impact of this advancement on our cities. Let us welcome Karuna Murdaya, Director of Central Cipta Murdaya, Wicaksono Sarosa, PhD, Director and Chief Knowledge Worker, Willis Kusuma, Principal at Willis Kusuma Architects, and our moderator for this panel, Susiolea Alexander Setiawan, Marketing Director of Picoland.
Thank you, Bu Aline, for the introduction. And let me introduce myself. Thank you, everybody, for joining Alumnas 2021. It's a pleasure for me to be able to interview three prominent figures of Indonesia. Mr. Karuna Murdaya, who is a director in CCM, a diversified Indonesian conglomerate with a $7 billion property portfolio and business in infrastructure, agriculture, building equipment, IT, and industrials. He has managed large projects, including the first BCA Gold Plus office in Indonesia at the Jakarta World Trade Center complex, awarded as the Best Office Development on Indonesia Property Award 2015, held by Ensign Media Co. Limited. The largest convention and exhibition center in Indonesia, G-Expo, that hosts national and international events such as Jakarta Fair, Java Jazz, Jakarta Warehouse, project that draws millions of visitors per year, and the prestigious neighborhood and the highest foot traffic mixed-use development in the country, which is Pondok Indah, among others. And since the opening in December 2019, Intercontinental Jakarta Pondok Indah has won numerous Asia Leading Luxury Hotel 2019 and Indonesia Leading Hotel 2019 by World Travel Award. Mr. Karuna also manages the building materials business as a director or commissioner in several companies, like the manufacture and distribution of energy-efficient solution in electrification, ABB, elevators, Schindler, air conditioning, Carrier, Toshiba, building automation, Asbil, and construction and building material suppliers, which includes a company with the largest FSC-certified tropical hardwood concession in the world, Intraka. Mr. Karuna received his bachelor degree at UC Berkeley in Environmental Economics and Policy Management and a master's degree in city planning at MIT. And our second speaker, who is Dr. Wicaksono Sarosa, is a director and chief knowledge works at Ruang Waktu Knowledge, Hub for Sustainable Urban Development, executive director at the Partnership for Governance Returned in Indonesia, team leader and consultant and training instructor at various teams of consultants. Dr. Wicaksono Sarosa is a well-known knowledgeable director, facilitating processes of knowledge transfer in the promotion of sustainable development, good governance, including the role of civil society, urban, and community development. Dr. Wicak was a team leader, particularly in the National Urban Policy and Strategy Formulation, commissioned by the Indonesian National Planning Agency, the Ministry of Public Works, and the World Bank, as well as in analytical study of district planning and budgeting. Commissioned by the Decentralization Support Facility, he was the team leader of independent evaluation teams of various donor-supported projects. He was an international instructor in a number of projects in Vietnam, Cambodia, Bhutan, Thailand, and Australia. Dr. Wicaksono taught various classes, urban ecology, urban management, and planning methods processes at the Trisakti University. In addition, Dr. Wicaksono has written or co-written quite a number of articles, chapters of books, working papers in the aforementioned areas of interest. One of them is a framework for the analysis of urban sustainability, Kota untuk Semua, Kota Pasca Corona. Dr. Wicaksono earned his master's and doctorate degrees in City and Regional Planning from the University of California at Berkeley in 1993 and 2001 respectively. He was a Fulbright Scholarship recipient from 1990 to 1992. His bachelor degree in architecture from the Bandung Institute of Technology was earned in 1984. And we also welcome Willis Kusuma. Mr. Willis Kusuma Architect founded Willis Kusuma Architects in 2004. Willis Kusuma Architects is a full-service architecture and design firm specializing in custom residential, cultural, institutional, and commercial buildings and interiors. Architectural designs are developed using innovative materials, advanced structural strategies, sustainable technologies, and guided from schematic design through to the successful completion of construction. Kusuma Architects persistently aims to deliver critical, genuine, and modern architecture that conveys a sense of humanism and purpose while fulfilling the programmatic requirement of the building, such buildings that encourage gatherings and contemplation, inspire creativity, give pleasure, and infuse both visitors and occupants with a sense of event. Willis Kusuma Architects exercises economy of gesture and scrupulous attention, which results in the highest standards of execution, delight in pure beauty, and respect for the client's needs. And his buildings have received praise for architectural innovation, as well as their subtle and sympathetic relationship to their context and the natural environments, especially the use of natural light and ventilation, which has remained his constant preoccupation. Rather than responding with nostalgic regression of future projections, in each project, Willis Kusuma Architects constantly investigates the possibilities inherent in the present and extend a unique condition through architecture. Willis Kusuma Architects has received numerous architectural awards and has been exhibited and published in both local and international architecture publications. The GF House has been shortlisted in the World Architecture Festival 2012, which was held in Singapore. Mr. Willis Kusuma's most popular design will be Cikajang, Jonas Progo, MM, Twin House, Manerai, Montes, Olivier, Panja, Sky, Social House, Social Garden, and all the hottest restaurants are designed by Mr. Willis. Welcome our speakers, and thank you for joining this event. Maybe Mr. Karuna would like to elaborate which city you graduate from and how studying in US helped develop your career and your achievements. The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. I think in my case, what's there not to say? I speak Bahasa like a foreigner because I was overseas too long. So how has it shaped me? It's like, well, yeah, I kind of grew up there. Yeah, no, it was interesting because, I didn't grow up in Indonesia, so I grew up in a foreign context where I studied, it was primarily focusing on a very global context on what were best practices, irregardless of locality. In this case, it would have been Indonesia. So I was, looking at the best practices from all over the world and seeing what could apply here, gave a broader perspective when I actually started working in Indonesia. So I think it was useful. Localization took a while though.
All right. How study in US maybe help your career?
I can't really answer that. I went to America when I was in kindergarten and I came back to school. Right. There is no, I can't compare. It is what it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Karuna. Maybe we can have Dr. Wicaksono introduce himself and also elaborate, maybe tell us like how studying US helped develop your career and your achievements. Sorry audience, because I heard Dr. Wicaksono punya internet emang agak lag karena lagi hujan deras. Okay, hi Doctor. Maybe you can introduce us yourself and also let us know how studying in US helped develop your career and your achievements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I consider myself as a knowledge worker, as you said earlier. And of course, studying in the US was enlightening and broadening my perspective and gave me more confidence in doing what I like to do. So, and I like to do to help in transfer of knowledge in the area of sustainable urban development. and I've been involved also in a number.
Oh no.
Well, we shall have to wait.
International activities, including goals, policy units, yeah, and the national and the new urban agenda as well.
Thank you, Doctor. We will be looking forward to hear your summary on your books. So for Mr. Willis, it's very, very exciting to see that all our favorite restaurants are designed by you. So maybe you can introduce yourself and also tell us how studying in US can help develop a career and also your achievements. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that working as an architect since 2004, and then just developing the whole career from zero, start from one project and then grow into another one, and then next and next, and so on and so on, and then until today. And then I think that one time when I was in grad school in Florida, one of my professor just, and then before I went to US, I actually had a brief working experience with this Japanese company in Jakarta. It's called Shimizu Company. It's a quite large construction company. So I was working for, I think that I was working there for 3 years. So, and then it's, you know, this Japanese company is purely very pragmatical in approach and design and approach through the construction. So when I was continuing my graduate school in US, you know, it's very funny because everything's turned upside down. And one day one of my professor came to my desk, and then he just turned my model upside down. It's like, and then it's like, oh, this is nicer than what you did, you know? And I was like, you know, left me in the sort of like mouth open about what he just said. So it's just taught me about, you know, how, you know, you have thousands of possibilities, endless possibilities in terms of doing design. And then in terms of how you approach and solve problems, there's always different point of views. You can see it from, you know, all different sort of angles. I think that's what I really, you know, got from it. You know, I mean, among other experiences, I think. Yeah. But then that one, like that one that stick the most, you know, when I was in school.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. And also for Mr. Karuna, it's very interesting what you have done amazingly in Pondok Indah, your new apartment and new hotel. So hoping that there will be next Pondok Indah, or maybe how do you define smart city? And as one of the most well-known developer, how have you contributed in building smart city?
You know, the first thing I want to, you know, just say is, it's kind of funny. You know, I think smart cities is a very overused subject because it's kind of funny. Every time I talk to a master planner, you know, the master planners, regardless of who they are, local or foreign, it's like 99% of clients will say, it's like, okay, what's the brief? What do you want to build? I want a smart city. And everyone says they want a smart city. It has to be smart. And the client could be like, it could be, you know, like the Harvard Endowment Fund, or it could be like Haji Kalsel. It doesn't matter. They'll all say like smart city. And everyone, it's a very overused term. It's kind of like 20 years ago, everyone was saying green movement, green. And green was just kind of replaced with smart. So, I mean, there is the textbook definition of what a smart city is, which is like some kind of data analytics, high IT connectivity city that's designed with, you know, like, you know, practically, you know, algorithms or integrated systems that go between, you know, security, traffic planning, energy management, everything, but basically Singapore. But I would argue that's not a smart city. That's just a little snapshot of what a smart city is. The most important thing that a smart city should be is something that works. If it has to be desirable by the market today, and it has to be desirable by the market tomorrow. So if you have like the fanciest IT heavy, energy efficient, LEED platinum, highest advanced building automation control system building, and it's empty and nobody wants to be in there, it's not a smart building. It has to be economically viable to be smart. To that extent, I would say, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but I would say that single use CBDs are like, Raffles Place, Singapore, Canary Wharf, London, La Défense, Paris, places like this. They're like very busy on the weekdays, and on the weekends they're completely dead, right? It's like you literally have to pay people to be in the building, and work from home is happening, and it's just going to kill that business model. I mean, like I don't think they're smart. I think what the definition of what's a smart city 10 years ago is not the same as it is today. And so whatever is going to be smart today, it has to be something that people can afford to live near, actually want to be in, and would want to stay in their free time. Otherwise, single purpose structures like that are doomed.
That's right. So how do you define smart city?
I just said it. It's got to be profitable, and people have to want it today and tomorrow. It's got to be resilient to market demand. It's not necessarily the most technologically advanced thing. You have to match the market. You have to match what is acceptable.
I see. Are you planning any in which location or design strategies?
Well, just to clarify, we're not a city developer. Like, Pakuwon's a city developer, Ciputra's a city developer. We're a Jakarta-centric, multi-function, large block area. So, I mean, like you probably noticed, our strategy in Pondok Indah has been very predictable. We made PIM 1, we made PIM 2, we made PIM 3. Can you guess what's next? We actually have a plan to go up to PIM 10. So, I mean, there's a land bank for it, and we're going to have a TOD development in Lebak Bulus. That'll be another 10.5 hectares, 3 more malls down there, mixed use, but the exact contents are constantly being revised, because any plan for a shopping mall, with the way how that e-commerce is decimating the physical retail landscape, the entire experience of malls is changing. So everything that is being looked at today is in constant flux. So we're trying to figure out as we go, because back in the day, if you were looking at cities, I won't say city, I'll say mixed use development that's around 200,000 square meters or bigger. Back in the day, it was cookie cutter. You build an 85,000 square meter mall, 50 to 60,000 square meters net leasable, 20,000 square meters goes to a depth store, 5,000 goes to big box electronics, 5,000 go to gadget stores. The depth stores are dead. The big box electronics have been taken by Tokopedia. The gadget stores are getting taken by like Tokopedia. 60% of the net leasable area of a traditional mall is gone. And which one's going to get taken down soon? So if you want to make a smart city or mixed use development with retail at its core, and your retail is 70% smaller, how's it going to work? So, I mean, being smart is being able to maneuver that market dynamic and be able to see the trends going forward.
That's right.
I think anyone building a mixed use development now with like 10,000 parking spaces underground is asking for trouble, because going forward to the future, you're going to have mass transit, light rail, maybe driverless cars at some point, and then you're going to have all these underground parking lots that no one's ever going to use.
That's true. That's true.
Pay it in water. So, I mean, a smart city is something that works today and is going to work in 10 years. And you just have to be able to plan for it.
Actually, because of this pandemic, actually also make us as developers also, we have to think what we should do with our land banks, right? Because like you say, the business model, the business plan is not just going to work now.
It's not easy anymore.
Yeah, it's not.
Easy. It was cookie cutter. 2000 to 2010 was cookie cutter. It's gone. You have to be imaginative or you're going to die. Or lucky. You have to be lucky.
Yeah, so now, so malls, we cannot really do malls, right? Because now Gojek is already taken over. All the restaurant, they can just have the central kitchen, and they'll just send the food. It's just like half an hour, and while the customers doesn't have to wait. While you go to the restaurant, you have to wait. So,
I mean, the malls get smaller. from a traditional sense, unless they reinvent themselves as public places. If they take the place of the European town hall or the European city center with the outdoor parks and the whatever, and it becomes more of a lifestyle activity because you can deliver food, you can't deliver nongkrong with friends at Starbucks at a mall. You can't do that delivery. It's the experience has to be managed, and
that's right. So now it's the experience, right?
It's all
so
experience.
We have to focus on the experience.
Yeah.
The comfortable.
What's the newest mall? What's the newest mall in Jakarta right now that's fancy? It's Ashta, SCBD. It's where all the fancy girls go to take photos of themselves and put it on Instagram or whatever. I think that mall's like barely over 20,000 square meters.
Yes.
You look at Agung Sedayu's other malls with like 100,000 square meters, 150, and they're like trying to figure out how to fill the space in those things. So there can only be so many IKEAs in one city. Yes,
that's right. And we'll see how because Hero is going to do the IKEA center more. Now it's the 5th one, so we shall see what else they will do. Okay. So is there any challenges that you face and how you overcome them?
Every day. That's a broad question. But it's trying to figure out market acceptability, because right now, for example, high-rise living is not a thing in Indonesia yet. I mean, Jakarta has a population density of 15 to 20,000 people per square kilometer. I mean, there is no reason why people should be living in predominantly single-family homes, but that's the only thing that's selling. The sales in the market currently for, like dense high-rise apartments is miserable. Anything in the market that's over like 1.5 billion rupiah just doesn't sell. It's very, very slow selling. And you look at every other city that builds around like, smart transit oriented development, you don't have them going between single family housing. It has to be high rise. It has to be denser. But you're fighting against a social stigma. And similarly, at this point in time, if you're going to have a land bank in central Jakarta, it doesn't make any economic sense with land prices to be selling single family homes. If you have a plot ratio of like 5, 7, 8, you got to go up. And because you're not going to sell a single family home at the rate it's going to take to recover your land costs. So we have master plans for Pondok Indah, Puri Indah, World Trade Center complex, Jakarta Expo, land banks around central Jakarta. We have so many master plans that we just sat on so long until they became bussy, until they became like out of fashion. And like, okay, it's great. We're supporting the master planning community by paying their fees. And then we take our master plan and throw it in the garbage and we have to make a new one because the market changes and the time changes and it's just not applicable because you want to do something, but the market doesn't want to accept it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Karuna, for the very insightful. And now we have questions for Dr. Wicaksono. Personally, I love the summary of your book, Kota Untuk Semua. 8 concepts, kota untuk semua usia, kota semua untuk beda gender, warga kebutuhan khusus, yang tidak ada diskriminasi SARA, kaum miskin yang baik untuk wilayah lain, yang membantu memberi generasi peluang untuk kebutuhan mereka, dan memelihara keanekaragaman. Nah, mungkin Bapak bisa memberikan summary untuk kami, Kota Untuk Semua, dan juga Kota Pasca Corona. Karena kami merasa Pasca Corona ini kita semuanya kena dampaknya ya Pak ya. Jadi supaya kami bisa lebih belajar gimana caranya untuk bisa lebih baik lagi. Terima kasih Pak, the floor is yours. Silakan.
Thank you, Cecilia, and thank you for your appreciations for the books that just published last year and also this year, the other one. I think, the Kota Untuk Semua atau Cities for All is actually an exploration of how cities can actually contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. Because I've been involved in the development of this and implementations of Sustainable Development Goals, and I've been working on the issues of cities, and so I try to connect between this realm, two realms, yeah. So and it turns out that cities actually can contribute to not only goal 11, which is for sustainable urban development, but also in practically all goals, including poverty reductions in goal 1 and some other goals. So if you, as some of you may not be familiar yet with the Sustainable Development Goals as agreed by all countries in the world, basically the principle of this Sustainable Development Goals is no one left behind. And based on that principle and knowing that cities actually can be beneficial for all.
Oh, no.
Or to rent, not buy, but rent apartments in Sudirman area, for example. Yeah. The idea of the new urban agenda that also coordinated by the UN Habitat especially, which come to the concept of cities for all. So basically, that is the book's background for the Kota untuk Semua. Whereas the other one, the Kota Pasca Corona, is still a summary of what we've been working on actually, and we aim to publish it maybe either next year, hopefully next year. We published the summary of it, and basically we look at it.
Agak lagging lagi, kami tunggu bentar.
But like Hong Kong, for example, but it has not become like the epicentrum of the pandemic, yeah, in Hong Kong. Yeah. So we also learn about the concept of accelerated digitalization, which will influence the way city works. Yeah. Now that people can work from elsewhere, it doesn't have to go to big offices or something like that. It will change the pattern of cities. Yeah. Although I still hope and envision more compact cities, but now that people actually can work from not only from their houses, but also from outside the cities, I wonder whether this can be actually a trigger for a more sprawling urban explorations, and we invite comments. That's why I put it on our website, Ruang Waktu website, and we invited comments for and inputs for how actually people look at the cities. Houses now have become not only a place to live, but also a work and study, school, and many things done in the house, in the same house. Yeah. And also, for example, we also learn about more innovation coming up because of the pandemic and the change of mobility patterns. So those are the things that we are observing, and we try to put it in this book, Kota Pasca Corona.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Wicaksono. And do you know if there is any kind?
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you know any technology can help this? And is there any available technology to help us as a property developer? And how can we adopt to this smart city lifestyle? And also, how can we introduce this concept to the public?
This concept of the city for all, or of course technology can help. Yeah.
Dan juga teknologi apa gitu.
Yeah. Of course, technology can help not only as means of communication, but also as means to identify problems. Of course, with technology, big data and all those things actually helps us city managers, city consultants, and all those things in finding solution, identifying problems and finding solutions. Yeah, that's basically the essence of smart cities. Yeah. But I agree with what Karuna said earlier, that smart city is actually an overused concept or an often used terminology. And actually cities has always been smart. The best cities have always been smart. If we consider smart city as a use of technology in solving urban problems and improving the conditions of cities. Because even before the digital technology is founded, before then, cities has always been using technology, of course, of the era, yeah, technology of the era. So the term of smart city is a flux. Yeah, it's always changing in a way, because technology itself is always changing.
That's right.
And of course, it helps if we can use technology right. We can help the idea of kota untuk semua or cities for all materialized.
Thank you, Dr. Wicaksono, for the very insightful and important briefing. So maybe kita bisa ke Pak Willis. One thing is that when I read your portfolio, I was searching the website. It's like, wow, all the favorite restaurants, and not only the beautiful design, but also the yummy food, all from Pak Willis, such as Monty's, Sky, Social House, Social Garden, and I particularly like the Social Garden in Senayan City because you have the indoor and also the outdoor, and it's totally different. So maybe will you let us know what is your philosophy in designing, and baru nextnya ya Pak ya, important concept for designing in smart city. Silakan, please.
Okay, I think that I think that you just mentioned it earlier. Like every place has maybe a different experience, right? So I think that every time when we start designing as an architect or as a designer, the main goal for us is always like trying to explore or experiment, and then trying to search for new or fresher spatial experience, like in terms of, just space, or, if we design a restaurant, then we always wanted to give the customer a new experience, a new dining experience. Not only maybe they have a new type of food or new type of dishes in that restaurant, but then also a new kind of experience when you start coming from the registration, from registration, and then you go in, you walk into where they actually lead you to the seat. It has to be very sort of choreographed, right? So it's the same as when we design a house or a building. It's always about thinking about what kind of a new experience that we can actually give to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to let's say if not new, it's not completely new, but then still something that actually different or fresher, or it's just like new experience. So but then at the same time, as an architect, we also need to think about the needs and the needs of the client, the brief of the client for business or for residentials, what type of needs that they actually required, and then sort of put it into sort of a certain program, a certain brief that we actually work it together with our own mission, our own mission in terms of creating this sort of fresh idea or experimenting with new things, but then actually not sacrificing their actual need or actually the function of the program.
Mhm.
So I think that the idea of balancing these two as our personal ideas as an architect, and then the needs of the client is really sort of our main philosophy. Yeah, to balance these two. To balance these two about our idea and the needs of the clients, basically. Yeah.
I see. Thank you. And what is the most important concept for designing in smart city? And just like Pak Karuna just now said that smart city have to be different now because it's overused. So what is your concept of your smart city?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, Pak Karuna actually beat me at that term of overusing, because like some 10 years ago, we actually working on the sort of we're trying to do a platinum LEED certification green building in Jakarta. So at that time, about 10 years ago, it's about we all about going for certification, right, for green buildings, right, be it the Green Council or LEED certification for the building. So basically, it's like looking for the certificate. But now, suddenly everybody's going for this sort of smart city, smart building term. I think that, but then when we look into it again, it's the bottom line is about the integrated computerization and technology. I think when you look into what smart city is, it's about technology and how you integrate it in that all different aspects of the city. So I think that in terms of what happened in Indonesia, I think that I've learned, some of the big cities actually already start implementing the smart city term, right? Like in Jakarta, we actually have JSC, right? Jakarta Smart City Center, I think, which actually initiated by Pak Ahok in the 2014 and still going until now. So there's this sort of e-governance, and because smart city is about how you integrated all this sort of data, be it the traffic, e-governance, information, and everything, like and all the information about the city. So I think that Jakarta start having it. So but then it's about like how complete you actually put together all the elements. So I think that yang Pak Karuna said, Singapore is basically what it's very it's an ideal when you put all this factor into you put this factor to be called what smart city is, right? You got the very integrated transportation system. You got to the housing, and then all the data and everything. So I think that basically, if you want to look at the ideal smart city for now, I think that Singapore is one of the example. I think, although you can argue how smart it is and everything, we can argue all day long about that, whether it's smart or not. But then, by definition, that's probably like one of the smartest city in the world, I think. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, I mean, Singapore not only gives out like the technology, the 5G.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that they have a system that actually can detect who's smoking in any part of the city. So because they keep adding camera put in
Yes.
in the data, and they actually can hunt you down when you start smoking in the restricted
Prohibited
area.
place. Yes.
Yeah.
So I also agree that, but as I was researching, there's a lot actually. Also London, one of them
Yeah.
also as a smart city also. And how about building the smart city? Can we make it cost friendly? Because we have to transfer some of the cost to the customers, and the customers in Asia are very smart buyers. They are able to calculate better than us, in fact. So, do you know if there is any cost efficient building developing?
Well, I don't know if I can I can actually answer this question. I think that as a developer, maybe Pak Karuna would know better how much money to invest. If you want to, put in all this sort of technology in a building. I think, yeah. But then, yeah, it's definitely definitely a lot of money, and then it is definitely money. And then city and building is obviously different, right? I mean, you want to make smart building and you want to make smart city. I think that the amount of technology and then programming, I think that it requires a lot. I think that for minimum, I think that they have a study that for minimum, just I don't know. They are talking about like for a small city with a small system, you could be investing about $12 billion, I think, to start, and then you can go until endless amount of money, depending how sophisticated you want your city to be equipped with all this technology.
How about the materials? Because sometimes like green building also is more expensive, but in the long term, it's better to use all these green building materials because it will not the emission of the carbon will be less, right? And maybe if you know any kind of materials that is.
Yeah, I can share my experience when we are planning on this small building, small green building that actually we are aiming for platinum certification at the time. So basically, obviously investment will be about 30%. The whole investment cost of the building is probably about 30% more than 30 to 40% more than a regular building, assuming that you actually, because the building is not that big, so 30% or 40%, 30% at a time, it's still okay for our clients. And then so they just they just decided to go with it, to get that platinum certification, although it's 30% more expensive. But then it's supposedly to be paid off in the long run. Because you're not using conventional AC, you're using radiant cooling. It's a type of system that you actually run the cold water on your concrete slab, so it's actually radiated and cool the space. And then you have to have a big water treatment, so then you can self-sustain and all these sort of sustainable energy equipments, right? And then in terms of materials, I think that nowadays I don't so many materials locally made that actually quite get a lot of certification already for a green building. So I think that in terms of sustainability, I think that it's more and more easier to get to be built here. I think, yeah, the only question is like the equipments, the mechanical equipments that actually take up a big portion of it. But I think that but then when we did this, it's probably about 10 years ago, so I'm assuming that today I think that should be closer and closer to. It's still gonna be more expensive, but then I guess like more doable, I guess. Yeah, in terms of building. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Willis. We are glad
Yeah.
that there are a lot of Indonesian
Yeah.
materials for the
Of course.
green building,
Yeah.
so that
And then because I think that a lot of they actually a lot of manufacturer, they actually exported their products, right, going to abroad. So that's why they actually fulfill that global standard, global green standard. So obviously, you know, when it can be accepted in the globally, but it means that you know, locally should be all right, even better, I guess. Yeah.
yes, because we will love to support the locals, Indonesians,
Yes.
made by
Yeah.
Indonesia. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so
It's
much.
just sometimes the exported goods they don't sell it here. They're actually concentrating on export. So locally, we actually didn't have access to it,
Ah,
unfortunately. Now, yeah, but hopefully, you know,
yes.
in the future, yeah.
Hopefully that suppliers who are listening to Alumnas today will be able to supply to us
Yeah.
local developers also,
Yeah.
rather than export all. Okay, thank you,
Right,
Mr. Willis, for the very insightful conversation. And also we thank you that we have questions. The first questions is by Bulidia. Smart cities requires also smart people. How do you see yourself or your business take part on improving or leveraging this ecosystem? And this question is for Mr. Murdaya, Mr. Karuna, or Dr. Wicaksono. Maybe Mr. Karuna first.
Well, I don't know if I would. I mean, what's the definition of a smart person? I mean, a lot of people say that smart cities are like, you know, Silicon Valley, Palo Alto, Menlo Park, Stanford, Berkeley, whatever. You got to be an IT startup to be a smart city. It's like, no. I don't think San Francisco is a smart city. I don't think San Francisco, Palo Alto, Menlo Park, the entire Bay Area around there is a smart city. I'll explain that in a second. But no, it doesn't necessarily need smart people. It just needs to be a city that serves the purposes of what the people in that city need. And it needs to be accommodative for their aspirations to grow into the future. So if it's, I'm sorry, Indonesia's public education is kind of, and I think this is kind of driven because we have coal, we have natural resources. So if you're a small country like Singapore or Ireland with no natural resources, and you're just going to be a trade hub, and you need all the smart people you can get because that's your main asset. But in a lot of countries in the world, a lot of, you know, like Brazil, you know, India, it's like, you know, outside of Bangalore, a lot of these, you know, a lot of India is just, it's work, like as work was done 30, 40 years ago. And so it doesn't mean these cities can't be smart. They can be smart. They can be managed well so that the people in them have the highest quality of life that they can, and they can aspire to do more. But this is not IT driven. It's not necessarily IT driven. I'm going to go back to San Francisco. Why do I think San Francisco is not a smart city? It's because, okay, well, all these tech companies are going there, and everyone, like, you know, Goldman Sachs, investment bankers, VCs, they all want to live in San Francisco. Okay, well, that's great. Who's going to clean the floors of the office? Who's going to clean the, you know, the toilets? Who's going to deliver the packages from Amazon? It's like none of those people live in San Francisco. They have to drive for 4 hours a day on the Bay Bridge or somewhere else to get out of town, because it's like, okay, maybe the IT industry there is smart, but the financing industry or the home market industry is stupid, because the people that do the critical services that spend most of their time working for that city can't even live in the city. So it's just like, it's not just algorithms and building automation and everything. It's everything. It's finance, it's crime, it's livability. San Francisco's got a huge homeless problem. And a lot of these homeless people have jobs and they're doing surprisingly well, but they're still homeless because you can't buy $1.5 million house. And you just can't, for whatever reason, you can't drive like 3 hours a day. And so it's like, you know, I'll put it this way. It's like you can have the most efficient high-rise building covered in marble, fastest elevators, you know, like, you know, destination control elevators, you know, like chiller sequence control maximized with, like, you know, sensors in every corner to minimize, you know, electricity usage for your AC. But if you're afraid that you're going to get ditodong by somebody in front of the building, it doesn't matter. The building's not smart. It's like if you have a high-rise luxury building and your neighbor is a burning pile of garbage, literally, so your entire building smells like burning garbage, you're not a smart building. So it's like, stop focusing on it's just IT, it's about smart people. No, it's a whole ecosystem. It's crime, it's human capital, and that doesn't necessarily mean just intelligence. You know, like it's transport, it's everything. And city planning is holistic, and I think it's really a false dichotomy to say like, oh, is it future-friendly IT, therefore smart, or is it not? It's no. There's so many other things involved. Human capital is a huge thing.
Thank you, Mr. Karuna. Maybe Dr. Wicaksono also wants to add. Yes, please.
Thank you, Cecilia. Yeah, I agree with what Karuna has just said. Yeah, that different way. I would like to say that smart cities do require people that can use the technologies that are available. Yeah. For example, as Pak Willis already mentioned about Jakarta Smart City, it has Jaki, you know, right? I don't know how many of us have ever used Jaki. Jakarta apa Kini ya, kalau nggak salah namanya itu. It's a super app. It's so-called super app. But I have tested. It's not a rigorous survey, but it's just simple questions online, and we found out that not too many people, Jakarta people, who already know Jaki, and much less who use the Jaki as a way to complain, for example, or to solve their own problems. Yeah, so it shows that yes, smart city actually requires people who knows, who knows what the technologies that are there, and also what they need and what they can do with the technology. Yeah. So yeah, that's my questions to my answer to the questions. But I do agree with what Karuna just said, that San Francisco, we live there for not there, but in the area for quite many years, and it has a lot of problems that were not solved by the technology that are there.
That's my kampong.
Your kampong, yes.
Also Dr. Wicaksono, because he's also from UC Berkeley.
Yeah, actually my son and my daughter were born not in San Francisco, but in Oakland.
Oh!
Hey!
So when Karuna said about the todong and all those things, I know it well.
Okay, so we have next question for any speaker. What are the options for Jakarta when it is partially submerged due to rising area levels? Silakan Bapak-bapak yang terhormat.
Can I answer that, or am I talking too much?
Yes, please.
Okay, so if you actually look at the subsidence map, it's actually not all of Jakarta. South Jakarta is fine. Central Jakarta is fine. The North Jakarta is screwed. East Jakarta is partly screwed. And it's going to happen. And I don't, you know, I'm going to be, there are solutions that can be done to fix this, but it's difficult with the current social condition. But I'm going to take the controversial position and say I don't care, because long term, because it's okay. I do care because the people that are going to be affected are the people with no money, and they're going to get screwed. They're just going to get submerged. And then what is everyone else going to do? If the market is there, if the demand is there, they're just going to put their piles another 10 meters deeper, and everything's just going to be elevated. And that's it. I mean, like the buildings that are low rise that are in trouble, yeah, they're just going to have to sell. And then who's going to buy them? Large developers with the money and capital to build buildings to take this into account. It's not like global warming is going to cause a flood that makes sea levels rise 10 meters. No, it's going to be like max 2 meters more. And then it's going to be an issue of subsidence. Our issue is not about sea level rise. It's about them pumping out the water and the ground level is subsiding. But that being said, it's just a little, it's okay. You're not going to use a subgrade basement anymore. You're just going to raise your platform a little bit. I think subterranean basements with the arrival of TOD and potentially self-driving cars are a waste of money right now anyway, because they have no alternative use besides underground parking. So it's like you could have a city of the future built on the sunken ruins of the city of today. And the cost of doing this will increase construction costs and foundations a little bit, which will affect the building and make the building cost, I don't know, 5 to 8% more, which in the long run is like, who cares? Seaside view, eh.
Yeah, my response to that, I believe in the ingenuity of people. Yeah, people can always find solutions to the problem. It's not always technological. Sometimes it's a social solutions, organizational solutions, and many other things. But sometimes people and society can also be stupid. Sorry to say this, but and because of the political conditions and all the fragmented society that we are having, sometimes we cannot achieve the best solutions for us. Yeah? So this is the challenge. But I believe in the ingenuity of people that we will find solutions. I don't know the exact solutions now just yet, but I believe we can find it. Whether we can then implement it, that's another question.
Yeah, well, we hope we can find it as soon, and also the government will definitely help and make Indonesia better again. So also our time is actually, we have 5 more minutes left, but we would like to have another question. This is to Pak Willis. Do you do commercial property like townhouses or cluster homes? But I see a lot of property developer now offers smart houses. From your perspective, how do you see this trend? Is it growing slowly or rapidly, as you know, or is it interesting enough for the current market?
Yes, we do a few projects on a real estate, cluster housings. Mm-hmm. So in terms of smart homes, I think that again it's just a terminology, right? I mean, most of the time, what the developer here that willing to to adopt in terms of a smart technology, I think it's is as far as you go with the how the house actually connected to the gate security, I think. And then maybe if we're talking about a developer housing, yeah. So I think that the most important thing that people actually require, or maybe what developer can provide so far, mostly are how the house is actually connected to the main security access. So when whatever happen, you actually have you will taken care of. But then next level would be how to integrate all these sort of house appliances into one system. For example, using your smartphone to connect all these sort of amenities of the house. Example, your blinds, your AC, your air conditioning, your AC system, your sound entertainment system, and stuff like that. But then the second one, the integration with all this, it only happens with the really luxurious houses, not necessarily in general housing, general products. I think like middle, it has to be like super luxurious. But then the most common one, smart technology that they apply is only like, I think that mostly the intercom, and then again that connection to the developer security part, I think, for now, yeah. So I hope maybe in the future they will the developer or are going to be willing to add more sophistication to this sort of technology to the houses, to the cluster, to their products. well, yeah, we'll see about that.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. We actually have another question. Maybe maybe you can answer also. Will smart cities make the social gap worse? But also maybe we can have an ending also, Mr. Karuna and Dr. Wicaksono and also Mr. Willis. What can we do in 2022 to make Indonesia better, to come up from the pandemic? And also how we US alumni can get together and help Indonesia. So that will be your closing. Thank you. Silakan Pak Karuna dulu.
Okay. Before I say that, I just want to answer one thing that I've heard before this that I want to address. Smart doesn't mean expensive. Green doesn't mean expensive. You can do it cheap. It just depends on your spec. If you want 60 to 70% of the energy use in a high-rise office building is the air conditioning system. If everyone wants a floor-to-ceiling glass curtain wall, which is like a giant magnifying glass, then yeah, you're going to have huge air conditioning bills. So you get the most efficient air conditioner you can get next to a magnifying glass. That makes no sense. So you can make a gubuk tanah, and that has huge thermal insulating properties. That's extremely energy efficient, but nobody wants that. So anyway, just saying. Energy efficient can be done cheap. It's all about the architecture and design. Sorry. Okay. Next thing, what can US folks do? It's all about exposure and being able to find new ideas. And the most important thing is applying them to the Indonesian context, because the demand in the market here is very different from every other country. Indonesia is for Indonesians. There is no coincidence that the founders of pretty much almost every single founder of an Indonesian unicorn was a US alumni. And that's not a coincidence. So they had the concept, they brought it, they went from overseas. A lot of the Indonesian unicorns, they're not new concepts. They took the foreign concept, but what they were able to do was adapt it in such a way that it could work in the Indonesian market, in the Indonesian context. And that's why Tokopedia did well. It's not because they invented online retail. No, eBay made their model 20 years before, almost 30 years ago. And so being able, if you're a US alum and you have your international network and you know what's out there and you know the potential of what's out there, and it does not have to be IT, and you see an opening to see how that could work in Indonesia to be able to improve the Indonesian condition, it's really that ability to not necessarily reinvent the wheel, but adapt it to local conditions. If you do that well, you're helping the country a lot, and that's good, because you're all because somebody invented it in France or Japan doesn't mean that it's going to come here automatically, unless it's like a smartphone game, then it will. But otherwise, and that translation process is the most important, I think, for people with international skills.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Karuna, for the ending. How about Dr. Wicaksono?
Yes, I hate to use the word that I'm going to use, educate people, because it sounds like we are arrogant. But I do believe that a large number of Indonesian populations do need better education, including in the use of whatever resources that we have, not only technology, but also natural resources and many other things. So I think alumnus can help in improving the quality of education. And by education here, it doesn't mean the one that is taught at schools, but also in the daily life and in doing business and all those things. So actually, public education is necessary, and alumnus can contribute in it.
Thank you, Doctor. How about Mr. Willis?
Yeah, I think that the process of sometimes it's about how we share that knowledge, we share that process, I think. Yeah. So I hope, hopefully with the, I actually just found out about this alumnus since I was contacted for this event. So I think that you know, through this sort of connections, I think, yeah, hopefully, I think that we can more engage, yeah, we can engage more connection, and then hopefully we'll, you know, will affecting more in terms of how improving, you know, our everyday life in here in Indonesia. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time, our three prominent figures of Indonesia, for your generous inputs and for your precious time. Thank you to the alumnus for organizing this event. We hope we can do this again, and may this event benefit many people. Stay safe and stay in good health. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Saya persilahkan.